Welcome once again to Leto's Law. Here's Steve Leto.
Lisa asked me a question about hanging a thing from your rearview mirror. Is that illegal, and can a police officer pull you over for it and write you a ticket? Well, let's talk about this because it's actually a little more complicated than you might think. And of course, the answer is, yeah, you can probably get pulled over for it. You may be able to get a ticket for it, but you can probably beat the ticket unless it's actually something large hanging from your rearview mirror. So I'll let you know that right now in my old Explorer, I've got two Explorers. In my old Explorer, I've got a hang tag for the parking when I used to teach at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. So I had a hang tag that allowed me to park in a cool parking lot. So I took advantage of that. And of course, the hang tag has just been there as a memento of my time there. And it's a great movie, by the way. But of my time there at the school. And so I just left it there. I've got this hang tag hanging from a mirror. So the rear view mirror is about yay big, and the hang tag is about yay big. And so there's a little spot thing hanging down below the rear view mirror. I've known people who got pulled over for having a graduation tassel hanging on the rear view mirror. I know people who've gotten pulled over for having the tag that you used to get in the old days that would go through your zipper pull to indicate that you had paid to go skiing at a ski spot in Michigan. And there aren't that many compared to, like, say, out west. But you go skiing up at Pine Knob, for instance, or Mount Holly, they would give you a thing that would hook through your zipper pull. And I know guys who would go skiing, and when they got out of skiing, they'd take the thing off and hang it on the rearview mirror for whatever reason. And I've known people who got pulled over, and the police officer said, yeah, I'm pulling you over because that thing is on your mirror. And so the question is there really a thing against having a thing on your mirror? And by thing in the first sense, I mean the law. So let's look at this. The Michigan Motor Vehicle Code is found in the MCLs, the blue books behind me. And I've had people ask, by the way, they say, Steve, are the laws in Michigan always blue books? No, they're not. They change the color of that every year. That's a privately published collection of laws by West Publications. And so I just like that year because I like the color. And this is an older set behind me for display purposes. Whenever I look up the law to talk to you about the law, I always pull the most recent version off the internet. And you can find them on a Michigan State website. So for instance, to look up the law on obstructed vision while driving in Michigan, I typed in the phrase Michigan Vehicle Code Obstructed Vision. And up popped MCL 257709. MCL 257709. Now again, this is the law in Michigan. But you'll find that most of this stuff is similar from state to state. The wording might be different, but here's the deal. The name of the law is the windshields and windows, prohibitions, rearview mirrors, exceptions, windshield wipers, exemption, hot air windshield defroster, or electrically heated windshield, or other device, windshield device definitions. So it's all of that built into 709, and it stretches over 2 pages. And it says, a person shall not operate a motor vehicle with any of the following. And it lists a bunch of stuff that you cannot do. And one of them is an object that obstructs the vision of the driver of the vehicle, except as authorized by law. And then it goes through a bunch of things. So and you might say, but Steve, what? So for instance, a person shall not drive a motor vehicle if driver visibility through the rear window is obstructed unless the vehicle is equipped with 2 rear view mirrors, one on each side, adjusted so the operator has a clear view of the highway behind the vehicle. So let's suppose you've got your vehicle stacked to the roof and you cannot see out the back window. Okay? That would be illegal, except if you have rear view mirrors that work and they're both facing the right way. Then you're good to go. But you're missing one mirror, missing both mirrors, then you're not good to go. Okay? I personally, in 28 years of being a lawyer, have never represented somebody who got a ticket for that. But theoretically, it's possible. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. You are not allowed to operate a motor vehicle with an object that obstructs the vision of the driver. So the question is, what does it mean to obstruct the vision of the driver? It's not defined. And although it does say up here that there's definitions here, that's one of the things that is not defined. So this law also covers, for instance, how dark you can tint your windows, how dark you can tint your windshield. I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole different ball game. But we're talking specifically about something that's obstructing your vision. So let's suppose that you're driving down the road and the police officer looks over and he sees the hang tag of mine hanging from the mirror, and it's a parking pass to get into and out of a parking lot at the University of Detroit. Police officer pulls me over and says, Mr. Leto, I pulled you over because your vision is obstructed by that hang tag. I'd have no problem at all taking a photograph of the hang tag, going into court and fighting that ticket and saying to a judge, because it would be a civil infraction hearing, and saying, my vision was not obstructed. Now, the word obstructed, you might go, but Steve, what does that mean? And I'm not even going to pull the dictionary out on that one, because obstructed would imply that my vision has been substantially reduced to some extent to where it's dangerous to drive the vehicle with that thing there, okay? And if you looked at my field of vision from the peripherals all the way, I can see both my hands right now, okay? This is one of the tests they give you when they give you the driver's license. I can see both my hands right now. If you look at the field of vision, it goes all the way around from there to there, okay? This tiny little sliver of the hang tag that hangs down below the rearview mirror is obstructing like less than a fraction of 1% of my field of vision. That cannot be obstructing my vision, okay? So I would argue and say that that ticket would not ever hold up in court. Now the question is, and this is a bigger one, it's like I said, I've never had anybody on this one either. I've never had somebody say, Steve, I got a ticket for obstructed vision because of something hanging from a mirror. But I've heard repeatedly from people who said, different people, I've heard repeatedly from people that I got pulled over and that was the excuse they gave for pulling me over. And that's a bigger question, because police will often use a pretext to pull you over. That is something that isn't really real. So that's why they'll do the old, I saw you weave in your lane. I saw you look down. You look distracted. Or you've got something hanging from your mirror and I thought it was blocking your vision. Okay? And so they'll use that to pull you over. And just to show you how my mind works, I actually realized, something? I should go get a dictionary and look up obstructs, because I'm going to get somebody who doesn't like the way I defined it. So, an edit that allowed me to put this in my hands. So again, a person shall not operate a motor vehicle with any of the following: an object that obstructs the vision of the driver of the vehicle. So I went and got my favorite dictionary besides the OED, because this one here has my name imprinted on the cover for some strange reason. The American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. This is a good backup. I don't feel like breaking out the magnifying glass, the OED. But a person shall not operate a motor vehicle with any of the following: an object that obstructs the vision of the driver. So the question is, what does obstruct mean? Because it's not defined in the statute, so we'll break out the dictionary. And an obstruction, or something that obstructs, means to block or fill a passage with obstacles. It's not really this one. To interfere with, impede, or retard. Not really. To get in the way of, so as to hide from view. Okay? And that actually sounds like, because we're talking about the view, something you can see, the view, right? So to hide from view. So the question is an object obstructs the vision of the driver? Is that little tiny hang tag that sticks below the mirror, is that going to obstruct my view as I drive down the road? And the answer to that is obviously no, it's not. So what we get at then is, so if you can't necessarily get a ticket for that, what are we talking about here? Well, what we're really talking about is the pretense or pretext, which are basically synonyms, that the police will use this to pull you over. So you're driving down the road, you got the hang tag or the tassel or the fuzzy dice or what have you hanging from your rearview mirror. Police officer pulls you over and says, well, I pulled you over because it looks to me like your vision's obstructed by this thing hanging from your mirror. And the question is, did that thing hanging from the mirror really obstruct your view as you drove, and block your vision? And of course, the answer there is most likely not. Now, I can picture a situation where somebody might have something crazy hanging from their mirror, or a ton of stuff on their dashboard or something, but the hang tag or the little thing hanging up there, no, I don't see that. And so 28 years of practicing law, I've never had somebody come to me and say, Steve, I got a ticket for that. But I've spoken to people who got pulled over for it. So the cop is using that as an excuse to pull you over and an excuse to harass you or to bug you or to see if there's anything else going on. I talked before about how the small town cops in Bad Axe, Michigan routinely pulled me over just to, see what I was up to at, 12, 15 at night, in the morning. And, so that happens. But again, that's more of just an excuse to pull you over. So technically speaking, there is a law on the books, MCL 257-709, that does say that you cannot drive a vehicle in Michigan legally on the roadway if your vision is obstructed by an object, okay? But Will you get a ticket for it? Most likely not. If you got the ticket, would you win? Most likely, unless it's something like I said, absurd, like you have a beach ball this big hanging from your rearview mirror. Generally speaking, the little things you hang from your mirror wouldn't be enough to get a conviction under this law, I wouldn't think. So there you go. Yes, Lisa, thanks for the question. Technically speaking, law on the books, but 99 times out of 100, it ain't going to apply to the stuff that you or I hang from our mirrors. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Leto's Law. And no, I'm not a robot.